I have a pleasure to introduce Barby, and he's going to deliver a presentation about chatbots.
Okay, right. So yeah, as Alex alluded to, I'm going to talk a little bit about chatbots today. And chatbots have been something that I wouldn't like to say obsessed, but maybe mildly obsessed recently is what I've been with chatbots. We've been doing a lot here at HubSpot with chatbots, and also personally, I've been working on a ton of like little side projects. And I know from looking at some of the different talk decks across a bunch of the big conferences throughout the start of this year, they've become a pretty hot topic that a lot of people are touching on. And I'm going to be able to highlight a little bit more background into chatbots and where they're actually applicable for many people. So first thing I want to just allude to here is around this fact. And this is a fact that any marketer will understand at some level or another. And it is that every single marketing channel suffers from fatigue. And what I mean from that is whether you're having huge success driving traffic from organic search, whether it's paid search, whether it's affiliate, whether you're driving a bunch from social, whatever it is, as time goes on, typically you hit a point in time where the effectiveness of that channel starts to reduce in its performance. Now, this can be with organic search where you just hit a ceiling of demand and you're not generating that much anymore. Or it can be disrupted by other channels, things like more PPC being shown, as we're already seeing within organic search. Or you're finding within AdWords that your cost per acquisition is starting to just drive up, and it's limiting the amount of return that you can get on your acquisition costs. And a key point in time to get into channels is at a relatively early stage. And this is something that interests me a lot about chatbots. And one channel that certainly at HubSpot and pretty much any company right now that focuses pretty heavily on email is noticing that getting more results from this channel is becoming tougher and tougher. We're starting to see here, like, here's just a very brief graph the past few years. You'll see click rate within emails in general is dipping lower and lower and lower. Being able to actually get people to come through and convert from email is typically getting a little bit tougher. And honestly, just reaching someone's inbox is becoming a real challenge. And email has been kind of like the go-to channel for so many companies to basically work on this typical funnel, right? So you've got basically the model that made HubSpot successful here of like building a huge set of top of the funnel traffic that filters down into some form of lead capture. In HubSpot's case, this is by capturing email address data and then drip feeding content to them to the point where we engage them, and eventually a conversion event happens where they'll go through and maybe schedule a demo or actually just directly purchase one of our products. This is like a typical playbook that a lot of companies have been using over the past few years and continue to use. And one big portion of that, really the lead nurturing, revolves heavily on email. And just one thing to caveat here is what I'm not saying is that email is dead before people start quoting me on that. What I am saying is that email, like any channel, is difficult to extract value in the long term if you're only doing email alone, right? So one of the big things that we see with email in particular is the fact that like email deliverability is much more difficult. So the email providers, Gmail in particular, making it much more difficult to get promotional emails visible. So a lot of them going into like the promotions tab, kind of seeing like the same level of like banner blindness that consumers receive from display advertising permeating into email as well. And just getting people to even open your email is very difficult. So this is where chatbots come in. And this is where I get really excited about chatbots, because it opens up a ton of new possibilities to both qualify and engage leads at some level and nurture them down to a point of conversion within one session. So one of the things that you'll find with things like email is usually you'll have multiple interactions, right? You'll engage people, add some value initially, then the next email come through, maybe you send through a piece of content that's relevant, and then the next piece of content you bring through to them via email will be something that leans a little closer towards the bottom of the funnel, and then that fourth email, you usually hit them with some form of CTA that brings them into a conversion event. Now, the great thing about a chatbot is, and chat in general, is you can interface with people and take them from top of the funnel to bottom of the funnel in one single like session and interaction. That's what's really interesting. And it's not just me that finds them interesting, right? This is a graph showing search demand for people looking for chatbots in Google. See, when Facebook launched their messenger platform to support chatbots, there's a huge spike in people searching around this. And honestly, from like January to where we are today, this is like exploded exponentially. And I think over this year, that's going to happen even more. And as I said, I've been doing a lot of testing with chatbots, and I've been speaking to a lot of companies that have been doing a lot of work with chatbots. So this is some information I got from ChatFuel, which are basically like a DIY chatbot builder. It's free to use. I have no affiliation to them, but honestly, they're a great product. We use them here at HubSpot. Kind of wish that we built it ourselves. But they were looking at some of the data from their audiences, and the average response rate from some of their more engaged audiences that people were seeing within their chatbots were as high as 90%. That is an insane figure when you consider that like average click rates from email hover around like the 3 to 4% mark. It's people actually engaging and having a conversation with a bot. I've been doing some testing just myself, and for a long period of time had like 100% read rate on messages. That's like unheard of. That will never happen with email, certainly, and many other channels. And I certainly don't believe that it's going to stay like that with chatbots. But with chatbots, one of the great things is, unlike with a lot of platforms where you're siloed into interacting with the entity, whatever that is, or the company, it often has to live in one location. Now, the great things about chat is it can go across different platforms. You can have chat interfaces within your website. You can have chat interfaces that all speak together within Messenger, Slack, WhatsApp. You can have it directly on mobile via SMS, like all kinds of areas. So you can create a consistent level of communication across all the different web properties that you own. So what can you actually do with a chatbot? The way that I tend to kind of like think about interacting with people through chat is usually focused around like 3 very broad stages. So, and this kind of aligns with most lead nurturing that you would do. Similar kind of thing with email, but the third part is so much more important with a chatbot, right? So the first thing is you need to provide that initial hook, give people a reason to enter into some form of chat. Next thing is like delivering value within that first interaction is critical to being able to like build some form of like rapport with the person you're chatting with, but also educating them on how to interact with the chat interface. And then the third and final piece, which honestly is the most difficult, is giving people a reason to return and chat to you. Sometimes you don't always need to do that, but really for like something where you're thinking about this as like a more long-term approach or marketing tactic, then you're going to want to have some kind of like retention built into your chatbot. So let me share a few examples of how we've been using Facebook Messenger at HubSpot and how I've been doing some stuff personally to figure out different areas of these stages. So here's my first and probably my favorite one. This is something that we've been playing around with a lot at HubSpot. And whenever we go to events and speak, what we say to people is, okay, you can go through into Facebook Messenger and get the slide deck for the talk that we've just done. All you need to do is scan the messenger code that we'll often place on a seat, or we'll have at various different locations around an event. And people can just go in their messenger, open up, press scan code, and they go straight into a chat interface. No like URLs, no like complicated ways of trying to figure out how to go and find us on Facebook by searching for us. Like, you're straight into the point where you begin that communication. The other thing to think about here is, as soon as someone comes into Messenger and interacts with your bot, you're able to start sending the messages. So at any point, you have an open opportunity to start going communicating with people. This is something that I did at a conference a few weeks ago just to test out myself. And when people went through and clicked through to get my slide deck, I'd be like, hey, Matthew, because I did this myself. I'm Matthew's automated assistant. Thanks for attending Matthew's talk at CMC 17. You can download the deck here, right? Really simple way of just immediately fulfilling that first piece. First of all, you've educated the person that this is an automated assistant. That's where a lot of people go wrong. If you try to be like a real person, you're going to get the strangest things happen, and people get very frustrated very quickly. The next thing is immediately adding value. Here's a deck you can get right now. You haven't had to give over any information. There's like zero friction here. You've just gone straight in and you're able to get a deck. Later on in the day, it's like, okay, so I've extracted that value. Now I'm going to add some more and give you a reason to return. So I ping out a broadcast message to anyone that I've segmented in that's downloaded this slide deck. And it's like, hey, by the way, Matt's just published a new video packed full of advice. You should go through and click this button to view it. That, if anybody uses Messenger, will come up as a push notification on your phone, right? So immediately pushing through. For this exact message, I think it went out to a few hundred people and it had a 100% read rate, right? 100% of people read this message. There's your initial barrier that you've tackled. Now, the other really cool thing here is this video links to a Facebook post with the video where it was published. So what you can start doing here is seed early engagement metrics into your video so that it starts ranking organically higher. People come through to the video straight after it's been published. They immediately hit it, view it within the early stages of it going live, probably like it or comment on it. It's going to like rocket up the engagement that post is then just going to reach organically. So you're getting net benefits outside of just the audience that you're initially engaging within the bot itself. Here's kind of like something a bit more conversational. So my wife runs a food blog, and I thought this would be a great testing ground to do some chatbot stuff with, where I can see how people generally engage. What we did is we linked up all the different recipes so that people could go through and get sent new recipes on a basic level. So instead of that ebook that they would download to join the email list, they went through and they could download it straight away within Facebook Messenger. At this point, we then asked them, would you like to receive some recipe recommendations? You opt people in. You're giving them a choice to then receive messages, which they're going to be way more responsive about in the future. And even more so, you can then start asking, okay, how frequently would you like that? So that you're tailoring the experience and segmenting people into something that they actually want, right? From there, we need a reason for them to come back, right? So this is where we add in some AI. And what we give the opportunity for people to do is type in an ingredient, and then it'll pull in from the list of content from the food blog and deliver some recipes related to that ingredient. So this person's like, hey, show me some crab recipes. It's like, great, yep, here's some recipes that include crab, driving traffic directly from a bot experience into the website. And then this is like them carrying on. It's like, thanks. All of this engagement is completely automated. There's no level of, and I didn't have a developer do this. I actually built this myself fairly poorly within Chatfuel, just doing some basic AI stuff. So honestly, if I can do it, anyone can do this. And then this person's like, okay, now with some salad too. And then they get a bunch of salad recipes and they have a positive experience and a reason to return, right? What are they having for tomorrow's dinner? They're going to come back into the chatbot and keep engaged. And that retention is incredibly important for extracting value and just building that trust and getting people used to interfacing with you. So just going to wrap things up a little bit here, but here's a few things that I've found from doing a lot of stuff within chatbots in particular so far. One of the key things is not letting users hit a dead end. So if in the example of the food blog, someone searches for some obscure ingredient that they want to cook with, and hey, we don't have any recipes for that. The last thing that you want to just say is, hey, we don't have any recipes for that. And then the engagement stops. It's like, okay, everything should always continue. It'd be like, okay, maybe you could search for this. Keep that momentum going, right? It's like trying to have a conversation with someone who's very difficult to talk to. You have to really like put the effort in to keep them going, right? You need to like throw people a bone a lot of the time just to keep that going, because as soon as you lose them, that engagement has stopped and the chance of taking them further down the funnel has reduced. The other main thing that often solves this is for new people that come through into your chatbot, give them some good onboarding. All you need to be saying is, look, I'm a chatbot. Here's how you interact with me. If you ever get stuck at any time, just type the word menu or help, and it'll pull them back into some set message that can like help them navigate again. Again, solves for stopping a dead end. As I was saying as well, always opt people in. You actually, like, Facebook Messenger is a wild west right now. You do not need to opt people in at all. But I think that's going to change. But more importantly, giving that option for users is just a much better way of sustaining like growth within this channel and ensuring that people have a positive experience, right? So just do that and track that within the platform that you use. And segment them based on these preferences. You can do basic segmentation in platforms like Chatfuel. There's a bunch of others out there. Honestly, just type in build your own chatbot, and you'll be able to find a bunch of different platforms there. And then the last and most important thing is always be thinking like, why would someone come back after this one experience? That's something that you truly do need to solve long term to be able to kind of get any results. Oh, and guess what? You can get this whole deck in Facebook Messenger by just typing in the URL that you're seeing there. I promise I won't spam you much.